Happy Tuesday. It's been a while since I've seen your faces, not since before spring break. So I hope you all are doing well during this time. And if you have successfully turned in Mastery Coding Assignment number 4, the 2D array problem, congratulations. You are done with new content for this year. And even though we've been out of school, we still managed to cover and master everything that we would during a normal year. So just wanted to take a moment to tell you that I'm really proud of you guys for how hard you've worked, especially away from normal classroom settings so far. And yeah, if you haven't finished at Mastery Coding Assignment number 4, I would highly, highly, highly recommend getting that done. Uh, Even though we're doing AP review in the next couple of weeks, my goal is to keep your assignments under an hour and something that you can not focus on being perfect on, but on doing within a certain amount of time. So you should have some extra downtime in this class, and I would definitely get MFE number 4 turned in if you haven't already. Folks, it's AP review party time. And you might have heard so far that the AP exam requires the use of is only going to be free response question based. And of course, as would be expected, you are kind of done with all of the code that you'll be writing on a computer in this class, unless you find it helpful to type up your responses in the meantime. Um, which kind of leads to some interesting ironies, getting used to coding things on paper in the way that we haven't done a ton of so far this year. But I'm hoping that we'll get the chance to in the coming days because you have some options when it comes to the AP exam. I'll probably write a couple different reminders of this in the coming days, but let's just take a moment to look at the breakdown of the AP exam. The AP exam will only be 1 hour, and in fact, you'll only be coding for 45 minutes of it. Friday, May 21st, 2020, 4 to 5 p.m. Please go ahead and mark that on your calendar. If I had to take a guess, the day before, I'll probably have you guys all meet up one last time to talk. This is actually the day after our last, I think this should be the 22nd, Friday, May 22nd. Thursday, May 21st will actually be our last day of class, our last day of school. It's free response only. They recently released that it's only going to be 2 free response problems that you'll be working on and writing on your own. You can either type your answers in some boxes that they're going to give you, or you can write them and take pictures of your answers, which is something that I'm going to allow you to do um, for our forthcoming AP review assignments over the course of the next couple of weeks. It's open note and open book, which means anything you've learned so far this year, you're welcome to reference and use. That said, they know that, and so they're going to make things a little bit complicated on purpose, so that you might be able to look at examples of code, but you really have to know how to apply them and implement them, which is pretty relevant to how an actual programmer would do it, right? If you were actually coding a big piece of software, you have a lot of reference materials that you could look at, but it's your job to figure out what goes where and test it to make sure that this thing works. If you cheat, apparently they have a system for determining this. You'll get disqualified. Cheating basically means Googling things on the internet and randomly pasting them in. If they can find that you're plagiarizing, that'll be a problem. And probably the biggest source is like phoning a friend. So don't do that. But I do want to help you guys prepare for this. So one thing I was thinking of doing, since it is open note and open book, is if it's helpful, one of the things you're going to do today or on Thursday is to email me with things in a review packet that you'd like outlined examples of, maybe with comments to explain how they work. And that's something that you could look at or reference as you take your test and study and lead up to it. There are 4 possible types of questions for free response problems. Okay, kind of the basics, control structures, variables, and methods, which is what we're going to work on this week. Writing a class from scratch. Usually the class stuff doesn't have any super complicated methods, but it'll give you like an explanation of what the class should look like, and you'll be in charge of writing the accessors and mutators. There's also for sure going to be a problem that's either on arrays or array lists, but they haven't told us which one yet. So I think for each of these, we're going to spend 2 days apiece on all of them, except for the classes one. We'll probably only spend 1 day on classes. Spending a day getting used to what some free response problems in this topic might look like, some practice FRQs, say on Tuesdays, And then on Thursdays, we'll do a graded FRQ on each of the 4 topics. And this is kind of how I'll be evaluating you for this unit to see where you're at using whatever rubric they'd use for the AP exam. You're going to get a lot of feedback from me during this time on how you're doing, and hopefully I'll use it to keep getting better. Nothing that we'll talk about in the next 4 weeks is anything you haven't seen before, but doing it in the right and proper amount of time and getting yourself comfortable with it is going to be where this gets a little bit difficult. I think the hardest part is reading all of the information and knowing how to complete it in a short amount of time. No specific method at all that I've seen for you to write takes longer than like maybe 10 lines of code on the AP exam. But what you really have to do is understand what they're asking you to do and what controls you have to do that. So today we're going to do 2 AP free response problems. They're available on Google Classroom in this document called April 14th, 2020, AP FRQ review. And our first question type is on control structures and method basics. Basically, what they might ask you to do is stuff like some of these skills. Writing if statements, using the modulus command. You need a little reminder, modulus is this guy. Using a for/while loop to run a command until a condition is reached. Writing basic method structures with appropriate return statements. Defining and declaring variables within methods. And using helper methods for appropriate functions within your solutions. That means in almost all of these problems, they're going to give you a method in the class that already exists. You're going to want to use it for something. So we're going to do 2 free response questions today. The first one is going to take 15 minutes. Then I'm going to give you the answer to that one. The second one is going to take 22. And then you're going to grade yourself with the rubric. Okay. If you haven't already, go ahead and pause the video and go to Google Classroom and open this up so that we can look at it together. For the first one, I just wanted to show you what the basic format of one of these is going to look like. Typically, what you're going to get is a first page that tells you that some sort of class exists in this type of problem. In this case, we have the frog simulation class. You're basically building Frogger. It's going to tell you what private variables exist. It's going to tell you what methods exist that are already written. In this case, the constructor and a method called hop distance are already written. And then it tells you that you're going to implement the method simulate and the method run simulations in part A and B of this problem. The hardest part, I think, of the exam is looking at the class that they give you and understanding what the class says, what it has, and how to use it. So for this one, since I'm giving you 15 minutes to do the assignment, I might even pause for a minute right here and just read this class real quick and make sure you know what it's talking about. Then you can restart the video. Once you've done that, you'll take a look at part A. Part A asks you to use a method that already exists called hop distance. That doesn't show how it works, but it returns an integer representing the distance in inches when a frog hops. And you use it to write a method called simulate. What return type is this method? Haha, great work, class. It's a Boolean. So it's going to return true or false. And sometimes when they ask you to write a method, they'll give you a table representation of how the method works. Take a look at it. It asks you to complete the method simulate below under public Boolean simulate. And notice it says underline here, you must use hop distance. Part B asks you to write a method called run simulations, which returns a double. Run simulations ask you to use simulate, which you wrote in part A. Both of these assignments ask you to use 5 lines of code. I think you can write each of them in about 5 lines of code. The hard part is understanding what it's going to ask you. That's really what I want to get you trained on, is reading through these type of problems. So on AP, free response question number 1, I'm going to give you 15 minutes. And I'm not going to have this timer open on this video playing for 15 minutes. But if you go to Haiku and you look at the agenda, you'll notice that the link to the slides is right here. If you want a 15-minute timer, you can go ahead and pull it up. Feel free to take a minute or two to read over the problem yourself one more time. And then when you're ready, start your 15-minute timer. You shouldn't be typing anything before the 15 minutes. And I want you to get used to just finishing an assignment in a set amount of time. So please be honest with yourself and take 15 minutes on this one right now. Go ahead and pause this video. Open up the slides if it's helpful. Take 15 minutes and write your answer for this FRQ. And then when you're done, we'll go ahead and go over it together.